right, Donald, come on up. By the way, I met Donald at Del Mar this past summer, and after watching him work harder than anybody I could think of in that press room, and then reading his work, and then following the actual results, I have to say, I'm going to go on record as saying I think he's one of the premier clockers right now in the country, and certainly owns the clocking world in Southern California. So Donald, welcome.
Thank you.
To our Horse Racing Nation event here tonight. So, you've been out there. You got in here, what, about a little over a week ago?
Got here, first morning was Friday.
Excellent. So you've been able to see sort of the final works and the final preparations for these horses. You've heard what we've talked about here as we've kind of gone through the field. So this is what the Super Screener has presented, but there's nothing like it. The Super Screener does take into consideration looking at some of the works, and that helps us build tickets to understand who's really thriving and who isn't. So let me ask you a couple of questions. Of the horses with what we're calling the best reputations coming in, when you were there observing in the mornings, what really stood out for what we call some of the more higher ranking horses?
Yeah, just to clarify, obviously in a perfect world, you'd love to have a foundation of seeing these horses in the morning for the entire year, because then you can actually compare them. I haven't had the chance to do that, so basically I have to rely on gut instincts from 10 years of clocking and just respond to something I see on track that I like. From the horses, there's a standout. Orb has been a huge standout in the morning. Everything he's done has been phenomenal. From his gallops to his brilliant half-mile drill where everything went right. He's handling the track beautifully. Of course, I'm saying handling the track. He may get something completely different. But Orb has definitely been a standout.
Excellent. Then what do you look for as a clocker? What are you looking for in a horse? And is there anything different you look for in a Derby horse?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I mean, it's about analyzing the mental side of a horse and the physical side. Because without the mental side, in the Derby, you're done. You know, with the crowd, 20 horses, all these things getting thrown at the horse for the first time, they have to have a lot of class to them. So I'm just looking for a horse that is enjoying his job without being overly eager. You don't want manic and you're done. For instance, Falling Sky is unsettled, and he's out there galloping and running off. He's going to be a key to the race because I don't think they can hold him. They're going to have to send him, and that's going to guarantee an honest pace, which I like. At least gives you an idea that there's not going to be like a Golden Sense who gets on the lead and cruises and gets an easy second quarter. I don't think that'll happen because of a horse like Falling Sky.
Yep, that makes sense. Are there any other, what I'd call those precocious speed types that just appear to be a little outside their hooves at this point?
Well, you know, one of the most interesting horses in the race, and I can't get a handle on, is Golden Sense. From a purely physical standpoint, he has never been better. I mean, he is loaded in the flesh and coat, doing awesome. I thought he was a pure sprinter. Everything he's done has proved me wrong. But even in the San Diego Derby, I don't think he's settled. I thought Krieger had a toehold and he was sitting on the outside on the pace. You tell me if he gets behind horses,
sure, he's
going to turn off and relax. I think he's done. But if he does get on the flank, I think you mentioned, Mark mentioned It's My Lucky Day could say hello to Golden Sense. I actually think it's probably going to be Verrazano, where somewhere on that far turn, Verrazano's going to say hello to Golden Sense. And the same thing in the Derby, Flashback did that. And Golden Sense does something we love, which is he felt the attention and he kicked clear. Now, whether or not he's going to have enough to kick clear from a big studly athlete like Verrazano and have enough in that final furlong, I'm going against him. He's going to have to beat me. It could happen, but I'm not going to use it.
That's tremendous insight because, it's, again, something as a typical fan, we're not there, we're not able to see these horses in the mornings as you are. And knowing especially their running style, so you can kind of anticipate what you're looking for, especially from a pace type. It appears then that he could be any kind because he's surprising, but given what he's up against here coming into this field, there may be a new learning that he's going to have to achieve.
Yeah, like so many others, you know they have talent, but they still have to prove how much class they have. Verrazano is another perfect example. As you guys talked about, he's basically sat his trip every single time, and he's so talented, he wins. In the Derby, if something gets thrown at him, an obstacle that he hasn't seen yet, where he gets stuck, bottled up between horses, is he going to allow the race to come to him?
Yep.
Or is he going to get upset and go, what's going on here? What's all this dirt in my face for the first time? So,
as a clocker, do you also pay attention to the trainer reactions as well as the individuals that are riding the horses in the works? Do you get any vibes from them at all in terms of their reactions?
I actually try and ignore that. I do like getting on Twitter. Twitter's become a new hobby of mine because it's so reactionary. You see some of the drills, and on Twitter, all of a sudden they're pushing out like the horses already won the Derby. You can kind of use that as a contrary indicator, I guess. But no, I don't pay too close attention to trainers. I have to have my own opinion, and if I start to get mixed up with other people's thoughts, then all of a sudden I'm not basing on what I'm seeing in the morning. So.
Two horses that had troubles we mentioned, kind of hiccups coming into this Derby and maybe being a little rushed. That's Frack Daddy as well as Vijak. So this is real important because the super screener, again, doesn't understand the health of a horse. Knowing there were some hiccups, what did they look like to you in the mornings?
Frack Daddy's look good. He worked best of a team over Java's War, which he should. Java's War is a pure closer. In a team drill with a horse with more natural speed, you should outwork that horse. He did what he was supposed to do, and he's been energetic in his gallops. He's a little goofy, he kind of throws his head around, which is a little bit concerning because it's a 20-horse field. There's no knocks physically from the mornings. It's just whether or not he's fast enough. Vijak, I don't have a handle on. There's nothing negative. He hasn't jumped out at me.
Yep.
So I can't use him just based on that. But there's nothing to knock.
Nothing. Okay, so it doesn't appear to be suffering or
No,
in any way.
No. I mean, I can't compare it. Like I said, I haven't seen him, so all I can respond to is what I'm seeing. And he hasn't done anything where I'm like, oh, I need to use this horse.
Yeah. Okay, that's good to know. How about the kind of buzz around the most recent pairing of Palace Malice and Overanalyze in their most recent work? Can you shed any insight or light on that particular matchup?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with your take on the workout. Palace Malice was placed inside of Overanalyze. They had the blinkers on Palace Malice, and you could tell he was naturally keen. He wanted to go. I don't think it was intended for him to break a length off. I just think he was aggressive. He was having fun out there, and he ended up breaking a length off. He wasn't unsettled. He just wanted to run. Positive. Overanalyze caught him by the wire, but to me, from body language, the ears being pricked, I thought Palace Malice was still in first gear. I thought he had a ton left. Overanalyze, it's the way he runs. He kind of leans in. He's always got his ears pinned, which is how he runs. But I think he was grinding it out. He was working, whereas Palace Malice was actually at a playground having a good time, and I thought there was a ton left. He's a horse that I'm going to keep in all my wagering. I think he's going to be a big price. And he's got that blue-collar mentality that I love in a Derby horse. I don't think stuff bothers him. I think he likes being in tight quarters.
Yeah.
I think he gets more competitive. In a Derby, you want to find a horse like that.
And as you'll see in the wagering recommendations, because of that work, and because the horse was sort of mid-packish as we were evaluating, the horse moved up, and he's more prominent in our tickets, both in the win even, and certainly in the 2nd and 3 spot. Very interesting long shot, and I'm absolutely getting more and more convicted around the horse as you are. There are a lot of synthetic or maybe even turf-type horses in this race. Have you been able to see from watching the works any high-action horses here that literally may not translate well to dirt and have not particularly relished the Churchill Down surface?
Yeah, what's funny is that Normandy Invasion strikes me as more of a synthetic turf type, but then you watch the Wood, and I actually thought he ran a better race than Verrazano. So he hasn't worked poorly over the track. He hasn't galloped poorly, but he hasn't done anything that says, "Wow, that's why he ran so good in the Wood."
Yeah.
So he's a horse I'm on the fence. I'm going to use him at least in the supers and tries, but I can't get a handle on him.
Yep.
And then Black Onyx is a horse I really wanted to like. I liked his workout. He kind of has this natural, unfolding mile-and-a-quarter stride, but I think he lacks athleticism. And in a race like this, he's going to get bottled up in traffic, and he's going to have to quicken again, and I'm not sure if he's going to be able to do that.
Interesting. That happens often. It seems that horses that have looked spectacular in some of the races, especially those of the hard chargers at the end, come here to Churchill Downs, and in those works, there's not that, I guess, brilliance that you might have seen in the race. Doesn't mean the horse can't replicate it. It's just maybe the way the horse works.
You know, some horses are naturally boring in the morning. Like Java's War, the drill was bad. He was pushed along, clearly outworked by Frack Daddy. But as mentioned, Java's War is a closer. He's not going to show natural speed in the work.
Right.
He came out of that drill and has galloped great. So if you think he's a long shot of interest, I would use him because he's looked great in gallops. So.
Good. And we'll be using them. So that's good to hear. There have been some late arrivals, and I know none of us have really got a handle on Lines of Battle at this point. Don't know if you heard anything about that horse, but Golden Soul was also a later arrival, and there's been some talk about that horse. Have you seen Golden Soul at all?
Yeah, he fits in the Vijack category for me, where I can't knock him. I like his size. He does have a kind of a plotty feel to him. It was a nondescript move he turned in, very mundane. There just wasn't anything there that made me say I need to use this horse. But I totally understand your argument, and I wouldn't say you can't use him based on what he's done in the mornings.
Yep. D. Ween Lucas has 2 going. Anything remarkable about either one of his horses?
Actually, Will Take Charge is intriguing to me. He comes out of that really slow race that he won. Everyone was kind of shocked. But he's really big, and I think that's why Lucas is taking it so easy with him and just said, let's just take one shot. Because I don't think he would have stayed sound if he kept racing.
Yep.
Because he's just so darn big. But he's lit up in the flesh and coat, looks really healthy. And the one thing I can say about the Oaklawn race, that track was chewed up, which is why I think it came up really slow. This horse was in between, getting bumped around, and it didn't discourage him. He just kept grinding away. And I like plotters, because like you say, they can end up in the 4th slot at a huge number just because they don't stop running.
Right.
The Will Take Charge fits that
category. Good to know. Might come out of the toss section here before we know it. What about the big dilemma, which is like many other horses where the super screener has successfully took a stand against, and I've noticed that when I've gone against the super screener, I've paid for it. It's My Lucky Day is the horse this year. I would love to hear that he's not working well, but I hear rumors that he's doing actually quite well. Can you comment on It's My Lucky Day?
Yeah, I haven't seen him work, but from his latest gallop activity, he's thriving. He looks fantastic on the track. He's just a horse that's enjoying being out there. And I actually think that Connections have a bit of an advantage over like a Pletcher and these guys who have these huge barns. Because all he's had to do is concentrate on It's My Lucky Day. That's his entire job. So he's got to set up his plan. He knows his horse, which I think is an advantage. I think he's going to run his best race. The question is, does he want a mile and a quarter? I don't know. I don't think he's better than Orb, but if he gets a better trip than Orb, he can beat him.
Yep.
So he's a horse I have to use.
From a clocker's view, how would you rank order Todd Pletcher's 5 horses?
Or his 5 horses? Palace Malice is number 1 for sure, and then Revolutionary, and then the rest.
Okay. Wow, that's a big bunch there. The Verrazano's in the bottom there. Interesting.
Verrazano's 3rd. I can't knock Verrazano. His drill was fantastic, but his drill was like his races. He's more talented. He's sitting there. You even saw his superior athleticism because the rider kind of just shook the reins and he quickened, and he's huge. And the horse to quicken that big is really fun to watch. But is he going to get a clean outside trip that's comfortable enough where he's going to be able to run his race in his tempo? If you tell me that's the trip he's going to get, yeah, I'm going to use him, but I don't know. He's going to be too short of a price, so I have to take a stand somewhere. And if he beats me, I'm not going to be surprised because he's talented, but I just can't use him.
What question should I have asked you that I didn't? And any other observations you have that might provide insight for those that are viewing in?
I would say don't overthink things in the Derby. There's a lot of luck involved. The best horse does not always win. I think the best horse is Orb, but at the price he's going to be, I'm going to use him, but I need to go with a price horse like Palace Malice. Not because I think he's the best horse, but I think he's going to be ignored for all the wrong reasons. If you have a gut instinct about a horse that you've had all along, and all of a sudden you're starting to second guess because you're listening to all the allegedly intelligent people, stick with your gut instincts and just bet who you like, and don't overthink.
Tremendous advice, because I think after all, this race is supposed to be fun,
yes,
as well as profitable. But it doesn't hurt to get informed with our dollars.
Please gamble
responsibly. That's it. Well, Donald, thank you so much for joining us here on our Super Screener event. This was extremely great insight to put together, hopefully, a lot of valuable intelligence as we come into this race that could be completely upset by the track conditions come Saturday. So it'll be very critical to pay very attention how things are unfolding on the undercard come Saturday, because it'll certainly make a big difference.
Oh no, that's a great point. Dirt tracks, severe biases, and you mentioned the what was the Derby, the closer, ice box.
Ice box, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, talk about a fluke. That horse came flying, everyone thought he was going to win the Preakness for fun, and they didn't recognize there was a bias.
Yeah.
So yeah, follow the undercard if you're going to take the Derby seriously.
Great. Well, some questions, Mark? Yeah. How about some questions for either one of us? Yes, Ryan.
We've seen two horses you like, Normandy Invasion and Miloot, have come up a little short. Miloot seemed to hang a little bit at the Louisiana Derby, and Normandy Invasion and the reps and came up to overanalyze after overanalyze had run hard in that pace and just couldn't go by him. How much are you